5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
A pleasant evening to you all again. Thank you for joining us this evening on Profiler, right here on Truth Music Radio. Hope you've had a pleasant week thus far. This evening we have in conversation a music producer and co-founder of Warp Records, which is a British independent record label founded in Sheffield in 1989 by record store employees Steve Beckett, Robert Mitchell, and record producer Robert Gordon, with whom we'll be having a conversation today. Please stay tuned, keep it locked on Truth Music Radio, and join us for the entirety of this conversation today. Yes, hello, good evening, Mr. Robert Gordon. How are you, sir?
Not too bad this evening. Yes.
Thank you for joining us this evening on the program.
Okay.
How is your day doing so far?
Quietly. I work from home.
Yes.
So I do a lot of electronic repairs and design and building these days.
Right, so you're keeping busy, huh?
Busy enough, yeah. So today I've been working on a valve amp for a guitar shop.
Yes. All right, Mr. Robert Gordon. Let's go straight into it this evening. Now, you are a music producer, and I gather the co-founder of Warp Records. Warp Records, is that correct? Yes.
That's right. In fact, it was my label alone, and it grew so quickly that I had to bring in partners who then took it off me, if you see what I mean.
I see. And it says in the early 1990s, the label initially became associated with the UK's northern techno scene and bleep techno and so on. And you have here that it features such acts such as LFO and Sweet Exorcist. Is that bringing back memories?
Yes. My disappointment with the history was the two partners I brought in didn't understand the concept of the label. So for me, the concept of that label was, because I just recently left school, I'd say, if I want to go clubbing, I wasn't a big clubber, but if I wanted to go clubbing, I could go to the black club to see my black friends, or I could go to the white club to see my white friends, and there was no club that catered for both of them at the same time.
Right.
And then I figured, well, I work in a studio, I should be able to make a music that both my friends like.
Yes.
So that was the original concept of Warp. And, I mean, well, to be direct, to be kicked out my own label to then change the music to pretty much just white music was pretty disgusting.
I want to explore that a minute, but let's go back to the early days. Talk to us about your early childhood. I mean, were you always interested in music, and did you always know you wanted to be a music producer? How did that come about?
Oh, that was, I've always been into music. I mean, before I could read and write, I was the DJ for the party.
Yes.
So sometimes I had to draw little pictures on which side of the record to know what to play. But, you know, from say 4 or 5 years old, I was the DJ for the party, for the adult party.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's the area that you focused, you put all your attention in from young. You definitely knew you wanted to, make something of your life as it pertains to music.
Well, it couldn't be helped because, like I say, from 4 or 5 years old, my favourite toy is the record player. I mean, even as a child, anywhere I went with my parents, the adult household knew that I would have to go to the gram, check out the records and play the records, yeah?
Yes.
And it was like a job for me.
Right.
You know, like I was a trained dog to operate the record player and the gram, and
Yes.
them trained me for that. You know.
And so, where did the interest come from? Is it from you know, a family member, your mother, your father?
Mainly my mother. Yeah, definitely my mother.
How so? What was she exposed to the music world?
No. She just had, you know, like what we call it, the radiogram back in those days,
Right.
a selection of records, and everybody realised that I could play the records in a particular order, which was better than that they could play them.
Uh-huh.
I knew which tune's supposed to play next,
Yes.
and it was just automatic for me that as a young child.
Right. So she encouraged you to carry on this.
Oh yeah, I was in charge of the record player. Put me in charge of it. I mean, I remember even one party, a big man come in and said, "Why? Where I do a big party? Go to your bed, right?"
Yes.
So I went to my bed, and I could hear all the tunes getting played wrong. And then I was crying because I had to say to myself, "Well, I'm going to get a beating for going to bed and not playing the records because they're all wrong. But if I go downstairs, that big man's going to beat me for being in the big man's party, so it's just double rubbish." And then my mum eventually found me and said, "Couldn't you hear the tunes? All rubbish." Go play the tune then.
Yes.
And I had to explain about the big man that sent me to bed who I didn't even know. You know?
And in those days, I mean, whilst you're young and growing up and hearing the music, did you, I mean, at that young age, were you know, writing stuff down, stuff that you'd like to, you know, implement or?
No, I'm talking 4 or 5 years old.
Oh, right, you're still a baby.
Starting school. Well, it's infant school. I'm the DJ for the party.
That says a lot.
I'm talking 4 or 5 years old, you know. From 3 years old, I could operate the record player competently.
Right. Oh, okay.
So about 4 years old, I'm the head DJ for the party and in charge of the record player and the records, you know. And then say by 6 years old, when I'm going to see visitors, I'm in charge of their record player. So moving forward, by the time I'm say like about 13, I took a keen interest in electronics and building little preamps and whatever, what we used to do in the reggae world. You know, the preamp was the big thing, so I learned how to build those. By myself, actually. I didn't have a teacher. I just bought magazines from the shop and just followed the course through, you know, like you buy your knitting thing or how to build World War Model 2 plastic sitting or whatever. You know,
Yes.
I bought Hobby Electronics issue 1. And no, I didn't. Somebody give me issue 1, 2 and 3 and says, "I can't do it." I bet you can. And I could. I just built everything inside until I was building music equipment.
Yes.
So in Sheffield, I was the chief preamp builder for the reggae sound systems. Age 14, 15.
Right. All right, let's move up now. I mean, years later now, you are this music producer of Warp Records. Talk to us about how did that begin, that moment?
Oh, well, a few things. Because I could repair equipment and build it and whatever, it became apparent that certain people that had expensive recording equipment couldn't operate it, and they needed a more expert on technology to operate the equipment so that they could do their music.
Yes.
You needed a professional sound engineer. So I was picking up jobs as a professional sound engineer because I had the patience to read the manual and the confidence, and you know, I had a small studio in my cellar, to tell you the truth.
In your cellar?
In my mum's cellar.
That sounds similar to, I don't know if you know the story with the Motown, I forgot his name, the guy who started Motown.
Very good.
But yes, and he started out in his cellar, in his garage, as a matter of fact. So, you know, those great guys started out from humble beginnings. So it seems as though you yourself started from that. So carry on.
Oh yes, 4-track cassette I started with in my mum's cellar as still at school. No, still at school, I think I was. So then I got a job in a 24-track studio, coming from my cassette 4-track studio, you see, like a big leap. And when I got that job, I think I was about 17. And I got that job and they said, well, it's a shame you didn't come a week or two earlier.
Yes.
Because Sly and Robbie's just left. They've just been producing 2 tracks on our album, and you're Jamaican and they're Jamaican, and you would have been pleased to meet them, I guess.
Yes. Sly and Robbie are legendary producers.
Yeah, because they come to my little town, Sheffield, for how much weeks and was recording, and then when they left, I got a job in the said studio.
Yes.
So I'm in the studio and I'm doing, I'm watching what's going on, and eventually it came to a point where I've seen these producers, and I've studied music at school, and I know about this electronics, and it seems like I know more about this production thing than most of these producers, big producers coming in. It seems like when I'm having to nudge them and say, oh, do you think, oh yeah, Robert, or nudge, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, so I realised that, so then I got to be able to produce a record for myself. I had the full confidence, and, and then I produced the next one and produced where the studio management is letting me produce records on their label.
Yes.
So it went so far that maybe the fifth record that I produced was a number 2 in the major charts in England. So we had the thing Top of the Pops and all of that.
Yes. I've heard of Top of the Pops.
I got the silver disc and all that thing given for that, and all of that.
Right. And did you ever meet Sly and Robbie?
I spotted Robbie at Anchor Studios a couple of years ago in Jamaica, or maybe recently in Jamaica. I said I was there with Max Romeo, and I says, "Oh, that looks like Robbie Shakespeare."
Yes.
I says, "Go and ask him," and it was Robbie Shakespeare. The joke was he had a wrist brace on for repetitive strain injury.
Yes.
Yes, repetitive. He played bass so much that he's given his wrist a strain. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, the walk thing. I did half an album for Yaz. She was famous for The Only Way Is Up, that big song there.
Right.
So that same album, I and my partner at the time got the job to produce half of the album because we said we could do it within a couple of weeks.
Yes.
And we did. And I got the awards and whatever for that in the yard. And I got some money, I think even just the advance. And I said, you know something, I'm going to buy some little drum machine equipment or whatever for my yard. So I did. I just made an order. I bought a little synthesizer, a little mixer, just some little things. And I spread them out on the living room floor and plugged them in. And then a friend of mine visited.
Yes.
And this friend, I was just about to make up a little reggae music as a sport, just to test the equipment to see if it was going to work. And the visitor who visited was into house music. And I said, oh, being as you're here, I was just going to mess about with this equipment to test it to see if it works, because I've just got it today, and blah, blah, blah. So I'll do a little quick house music, because, it's so easy and cheap, that music, that I can just, I don't like it, but I'm just making it for you, right?
Yes.
So I just looked at the guy, I made the kind of tune he liked, if you know what I mean. And then he took the cassette to the nightclub and it shook up the place.
So you had some mishaps.
Well, I never liked house music. I mean, it just sounded cheap and horrible. So even me, at least I'd make the sound to say you could listen. Do you know what I mean? At least I've got. So I made it to my standards.
Yes, yes.
Even though it was a cheap standard, because it's just some cheap equipment, but at least I'm setting the levels to say, well, you got to at least have a bass like this, and you got to at least have a Christmas like this, and you can't have that hiss like that, and just normal standard.
Yes.
And so I did another side, and that shook up the place as well. And then, so I remember being in the nightclub for the first time and watching it shock up the place. And even I was shocked.
Yes.
It's this cassette tape, and it's the biggest track of the night. And I said, you know something? I work in a studio, and I'm working for EMI and Warner Brothers and all these major labels, and they put thousands into a record to try and get a reaction like this. Sometimes they do 4 or 5 remixes just to try. I said, I've got my little cassette licking up the whole of that.
Mm-hmm.
But if I took this cassette to a record company, they said, what kind of rubbish music is that? I knew they would. You know what I mean? So there was no point in taking it to a record company because to them that just sounded like somebody messing about in the house.
Yes.
House music, you know. So I pressed 500 white labels. And I sold all 500 within a week. Somebody told me it made Guinness Book of Records, but I've never seen it. But somebody told me it made Guinness Book the fastest. I did see that 500 put it at something like 112 in the national chart.
Uh-huh.
So I said, this is no joke business. I've seen all these big labels spend thousands to do what I'm doing by accident.
Yes, yes.
So I took some more money out of the bank and I started a proper label and put that track out, you see.
That's remarkable.
Well, this is it. All the marketing had been, you know what I mean? Everything had been done in terms of sending a team out for market research and then do the flyers and blah, 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 blah. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've got a hit. But I'm not going to do it when nobody else wants it. Do it myself. I've got the money. So I just did it myself.
Brilliant. And
that's the story of what?
Did you ever, in the early days, rub shoulders with, any of the old? And I know it's perhaps you don't do that reggae thing, but did you ever rub shoulder with any of the old reggae icons?
Oh, I do that more nowadays.
Ah.
So for the last maybe 10 years, I've been frequently flying to Jamaica, typically more or less once a year. And I'll go there repairing the recording studios.
Wow.
So I got invited, for the first time was to repair Junior Reid's digital recording studio, where it had already possibly 3 different engineers from around the world who come, charge him, and it's not working.
Right.
So I come, and without the details, eventually I got it working.
Wow.
And then it was such a story at the time that Mr. Adams, Chief of Police.
Yes, from Jamaica.
Yeah?
Renata Adams?
Yeah, the big man.
Yes, yes.
He come to congratulate me and shake my hand.
Wow. That says something.
Because, well, he knew Junior must have spent tens of thousands on the studio, and then the same again, and never had it working. And the Chief of Police, he said, when I heard the rumour that it was a Jamaican descendant that fixed the studio after we've thrown thousands at it, X amount of, as you know, they call X amount of white man from America, Germany, England, they come, charge the big money, and they still now work. And you come, and then I just said, well, whatever you paid for the fare, just pay me that then. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I'm just marking my price on what they're paying for aeroplane. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So how much money Junior Reid lost trying to get that studio working? You know, so that was me. I remember really I should be working at Tough Bong because I got offered a job there when I gave them some advice in the boardroom.
Yes.
I got offered a job because they was getting rid of the vinyl pressing plant, and I I stopped him doing it.
Right.
I stopped him doing it. Because the guy in Europe said there's a second-hand CD plant, and this CD's the thing, and I know somebody who needs that pressing plant for parts for the vinyl, and you just get rid of that, and I'll give you a discount. And I had to explain to them that actually, in Europe, the white reggae fans prefer their reggae on vinyl.
Uh-huh.
So the guy that's telling you that is misinforming you. Do you know what I mean? I had to explain properly, you know. And I said, oh, besides, I says, in Europe at this time, everything is a DVD plant.
Yes.
So you're getting some old junk and getting rid of gold.
Mm-hmm.
So those kind of frauds, do you know what I mean? That's what goes on for our people.
Yes, yes. So that's wonderful. Junior Reid is his foundation from Jamaica. One of his famous songs I remember is I think One Blood.
Yeah, that's right.
So he's quite instrumental. So I guess you working there and doing a great job. Then your name is quite out there as well in Jamaica.
Yeah, I'm good friends with Max Romeo.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. He did that song War in Babylon.
Right.
And one step forward, two steps backwards, and his biggest album is a Lee Perry production,
Right.
And he's still active as an artist around Europe, and he's one of the biggest in mainland Europe. Yearly, he's playing the biggest festivals.
Right.
So sometimes I'll go to his studio, and I'll often stay at Max. Most of the time I go to Jamaica, I'll stay on his complex. Yeah. Yeah.
You were
his own studio, Charmax Productions. I should big him up, Charmax Productions.
Right. You were also part of the group called Crush with a K, which was a UK dance group. What, back in the 80s, 1992?
87. 1987.
1987, my correction.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that, about Crush, because they had a massive single back in the day, House Arrest.
That's right. That's what the time I worked at Fon Studios. So that's before the war period. So that hit, I got the silver disc, and in fact, it was my living girlfriend at the time that was the singer on that.
Okay.
She got introduced to that to say, my girlfriend can sing. That's the easy part, just know what I mean? And her voice will suit it. And then, she ended up getting her own deal and doing her own album.
Right. And they had a second single, Walking on Sunshine.
Yeah, that's
1992.
That's nothing to do with me.
That's after you.
In fact, that did all right. And I'm not sure if my ex was on it, because she was my ex by then. I'm not sure if she... Well, that did all right, but I think that got to, say, top 20. But mine got to number 2 and number 1 in certain charts. So there were two different levels of success, those two records.
Right, I see. Now, let me ask you this. Tell the listening audience clearly for me. What exactly does a music producer do? What's the job of a music producer?
Project manager. The goods have got to come out of the factory fit for purpose.
Yes.
So you can't have a big hiss going through it for no reason, or a big loud hum going through it for no reason. You can't have people say to you, oh, I can't hear the words, it's too quiet. You can't have people say, that's tinny. You can't have, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
You can't have people say, that's out of tune.
Right.
Listen, that guitar's out of tune. You can't have people say that about a record. Somebody's got to be in charge to make sure it's not faulty,
Yes.
Yeah. You can't have people point out errors, whether you like the music or not. So I can produce, in fact I have done, I have produced funk, punk, indie rock, straight rock, techno, house, classical,
yes,
folk, and reggae.
Yes. Wonderful.
Yeah, I can produce anything, whether I like it or not. You know, some things I've turned down, you know, because I've turned down music where I've said, you've copied my style so much that there's nothing more for me to add. I've turned down music where I've said, listen, I work with computers these days, and that is 200% acoustic. I don't think. I turned down Dusty Springfield. I don't know if you know Dusty Springfield. She was a big white artist from Beatles.
I've heard the name Dusty Springfield. Yes, I've heard the name.
Anyone who had a heart and all of these kind of things, right? I turned her down because I said, I'm a teenager and you're my mum's age.
Right.
You have got a big name in English music and I'm a young black kid. I don't want to ruin your career and I don't want to ruin my career. I don't understand how big you are. I don't know any of your records, and I've heard that you've been massive in the... It sounds like it's a bad marriage, this. I could ruin it for both of you. Both of us. If you see what I mean? I turned down. Yeah, turned down Boy George.
You turned down Boy George?
Yeah. Turned it down.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what are the first thing, or some of the... What's the first thing you would listen for when listening to a new recording, or, you know, someone comes to you for help, seeking, you know, to guide them? Well, what do you listen for?
Does anybody else want to hear this? Or as a DJ, would I buy and play this as a record? Or as a consumer, if I heard this, would I want...
Sorry, you hear me? Yes. Are you there, Robert, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yes. You're recording.
Did you get the answer?
No, it's you cut out. Can you repeat that?
Okay, I can repeat that.
Yes.
I will ask basic questions like, does anybody else want to hear this piece of music? Or, as a DJ, would I want to play this? Or, as a consumer, would I want to go to the shop and buy this to listen to it again? Or if it was on the radio, would I turn it up or would I turn it down in terms of volume? I just ask those questions to myself.
Yes.
You know? Is it any good?
yes. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
And when a young artist is looking for a music producer, I mean, what should that young artist, look for? What should he ask himself when looking for a producer? Because there must be producers out there that, you know, perhaps aren't that good. So what advice would you give? What should he look for? What are the signs?
The signs are, everybody's got to start somewhere.
Yes.
But if you've already started and you actually wanted to look for a producer, if you see the rephrasing the question slightly, I would say go on Discogs. A track record. Yeah, you can see if they've been in the industry, or are they pretending they've been in the industry? For somebody who's actually in the industry, you can see every barcode of every release that they've been involved in. And somebody who's talking about it is just some kind of bedroom MP3 wannabe. Sometimes very rich wannabe, but they've got no success record.
Right.
Or even activity record in a professional sense, you know. A white label don't make you a producer.
Yes,
you know?
yes. Now, Mr. Robert Garden, you are established within the music industry. You're coming from way back when. You hear of certain music, like punk music, like you stated, heavy metal music. There is, you know, close links, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. It seems to be close link with, you know, Satanism. Have you come across this where people are obsessed with Satanism? Because you can see this in the music, whether it's the video or the lyrics. Can you shed any light on this?
Yes, I have actually. I can tell you that definitely more than once. Probably more than twice. Well, let's say a few times. Especially in my teenage years.
Yes.
So that'd be like in the last part of the 80s.
Uh-huh.
I've had to say to certain artists, I am not recording that. And I've had to say, listen, go to the studio manager and tell them to get another engineer in, because I am not doing, and this is just as, not as a producer, as an engineer.
Yes.
I've refused, when it's been quite clear that, you know, the purposely doing something satanic in a recording. I would not do it. I've never done it purposely, and I've put myself up for the sack.
Yes.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? Get somebody else to do it. I'm not doing it. You can argue all you want. I'm not doing it. Go and complain. I'm just not doing it. Do it yourself. I'm not doing it. And if you do it yourself, I'm not helping you mix it in the...
Are you there?
Yeah.
Yes, you're just breaking up a bit.
Yeah, they always... They like to break me up, and
Are you there?
Yeah.
Yes. So you refuse to actually help them with that type of music, with that satanic edge to it. Hello? Yes. Are you're back in? Can you try and move your phone to a better? Yes, we can hardly hear you. Can you say something now? See if you're back in clear.
Yeah?
Yes, you're back now.
I've moved the room.
Yes, you're back.
I have to tell the listeners that when I'm on the phone and I'm talking too much truth, it seems like, you know, they're recording everything I say, but times move forward that much that I'm trying to talk as freely as I can.
Right. So you're saying you refuse to back or to help anybody that's actually pushing a satanic agenda or a satanic edge to that particular music?
Yeah, I have actually refused to do it. They presented it and said, listen, I realize what you're doing there, and I'm not doing it.
Yes. And can you see that same satanic message and edging in a lot of these music today?
Well, I think everybody can see that. You know, I mean, you don't even have to listen to the music, just watch the video. It's, you know, we've got more of that than innocent music, so I'm sure everybody can see that today.
Yes.
I think it's a prerequisite of getting a contract these days.
Right. So
you know, I know how to get a #1 record these days. Start with some satanic lyrics. And there we go.
Yes. And it seems, Robert, that to make it big in the music industry, one has to do, whether it is, you know, sacrifice or, you know, deal with Satanism openly, or they can't make it.
Yes, that's precisely what I'm saying. That's precisely what I'm saying. Moral content of the music. So because the moral content of the music I work with isn't satanic, I don't even waste my time approaching those people to release my music because I know they'll be turned down.
Yes.
Moral content is the key. So if you've got morals in your music, you're not going to make it in this world.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how it is. Look at Billboard, you know.
And a lot of those artists, along with Satanism, there seems to be heavy drug use.
Well, yeah. Well, of course. All right. The first music that suffered from Satanism was heavy rock in the 70s. So even if
are you there, Robert?
if you look at the names of those groups, you've got like Judas Beast. Can you try
and shift your location?
Have to move again. Is this better? better.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you look at those heavy rock names from the 70s in England, it'll be like Black Sabbath.
And Black Sabbath, that's with Ozzy Osbourne? Your phone is gone again. Is something trying to stop your conversation, huh? Listeners, please bear with us. We're just having some technical issues on Robert's side.
Yeah, it's on my side. Judas Priest.
Can you come? You were saying something about Black Sabbath.
Yeah, that's the name of a 70s rock group.
Yes, is that with Ozzy Osbourne?
Yes.
Yes. Go on. Your phone is completely gone again. I apologize, listening audience, for that. Robert is having some technical issues on his side, and his call has just dropped. So I'll try to contact him again. Hopefully we get a hold of him. I would like to carry on this conversation dealing with Satanism within the music industry. And hold on, I think we have him back. Yes, Robert, you're back. Your line just went.
Right.
Yes, you're back.
Yeah, I did not. Did you understand now? So I'm going to carry on as good as I can.
Yes.
So, Judas Priest.
Yes.
That's the name of the group, and, Rainbow and Rush and, basically all the names of those 70s rock groups are demonic, satanic. In fact, I saw somebody online the other day, and you put a name for yourself. This guy called himself 70s rock music ruined my life. That's what the guy called himself.
Wow, that says something.
So I was like, yes, I understand. It's in plain sight. Just look at the names of the groups. It's all satanic. Just look at the sleeves. It's all 5-star pentagrams and whatever. So that's where it started.
Yes.
That's where it started. And now we've got it in our trap music because they've insisted that if it's not satanic, then we're not interested. And they've insisted on that. So we're stuck there in trap music.
Yes.
Yeah. Trap.
What are some of the traps, Robert, with some of these contracts that a lot of these youngsters, they get tied down into and find it difficult to break loose, and it even join them closer to giving up their soul and all of that? What are some of the things they should look out for with these contracts?
Don't sign them. Look, as far as I'm concerned, right, it's like the story of Warp Records. I explained that one, right?
Yes.
I went to the pressing plant myself. I didn't got to know Big Man. I found out how to make a record. I asked them how much does it cost to manufacture these records.
Yes.
And I paid and manufactured the records myself so that they were mine. I didn't need no contract. I got the receipt for my records. They're my records. I can take them to the shop, sell them. And why are you always going upstairs to Big Man when you know what I mean? Don't sell out when you don't need to sell out. Own your companies.
Yes.
Make your own CDs. Sell your own CDs on your own label. Some people are just greedy. No, it's none. Lazy.
Yes.
I mean, even with that, right? Look at it this way. How many sisters have got that business degree and working behind a counter in a store? Give the sister a job to administrate your own record label.
Yes.
I mean, some of the sizes of the chains, that could have done a good campaign and a good release, a recording of an album.
Yes.
Even if it weren't yours, for another brother down the street. Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Self-reliance. Marcus Garvey,
We're speaking, Robert, listening audience, about, the music industry and the influence when it comes to the Satanism we touched on and the drugs and all of that. But recently in the news, and I hope you can indulge me with this, recently in the news, you have people like Ice Cube, Wiley, who is considered the godfather of grime. You have Nick Cannon in America, who he used to do music back in the day. And one thing these guys all have in common is that they all said that the black man, he is the real Jew. And they were talking about the Jewish control of the media, of the music industry, and so on. Have you heard this? What's your thought on some of the things that they had to say?
Well, it's not just the music business. It's all the media. It's the news. You know, it's like the TV channel. It isn't just the music business. They should, you know, maybe. And then it might not sound that personal when they say it. Have to express it better.
So you're saying the control is not just over the music, it's over media, all forms of media?
All forms of media.
Yes.
All forms. So they're correcting what they're saying, but it's all forms of media. It's not just music business, you know.
Yes.
So put it this way, social media won't accept in saying it. The recording media won't accept it. The newsprint media won't. You know, it's all owned. So you can't say those messages because you're up against it. The owners of the platform you're using for that kind of message.
And being a music producer and speaking of this Jewish control, have you heard? Have you the message that these guys are saying, Ice Cube, Wiley, Nick Cannon, is that they are the real Jews? Have you heard this before in certain music, in certain songs?
Yeah, you'll hear it in a lot of Jamaican Rasta music. Well, in fact, Lee Perry, I remember him actually saying, "I am a Jew" on the track. But a lot of they'll mainly sing about the children of Israel.
Yes.
So there's lots of that from the 70s going right through. You know, Dennis Brown, Children of Israel, 1977. Quite a lot of it's there.
Yes. So why do you think it's causing such a stir now? That to the point where if these brothers speak out and say that they are the Jews, that they are Hebrews, they have been labeled with being anti-Semitic.
Anti-Semitic. Well, I've got a joke about that. I tell people that I'm anti-semantic. I don't like ish, ism, ist, or anything like that added onto my words. I like real words. So I'm anti-semantic. So no, you can't come to me with none of that. Yeah.
Right. And right now, another thing that's taking over the world right now, black musicians all over the world, they are what they call right now speaking their truth. And that truth being the racism that they encountered in the music, in the new music industry. You have people like Alexandra Burke and I forgot her name, Leona Lewis. They all came out and were speaking out against the racism that they encounter. Can you shed some light on this? I mean, racism within the industry?
Well, in England, it's so racist, it's beyond. I mean, okay. I'll not even say England, I'll just talk about where I live in Sheffield.
Yes.
Where I live in Sheffield, the authorities have got this thing where it's called zero tolerance. So what that means is if on Facebook, the local police see that a dance featuring black music is on somewhere in the town.
Yes.
They will mobilize quite a lot of forces, you know, like maybe 7 vans to make sure there's no event going on tonight. Yeah, so we don't need any trouble for them to close down an event. We need just an event proposed. And they will turn up and close it. In fact, it's even worse than that. I've got a friend who I helped design a reggae sound system for.
Yes.
Equipment-wise. And then I organised for him to test the speakers in a white friend of mine studio, which is in a cellar.
Yes.
Yes. So on the Saturday afternoon, we moved all the speaker boxes and this, that, and other. And then I came back in the evening about 8:30 or something to switch it all on. And there was a big line of police vans. And I tried to explain to the police that there's going to be 10 people here. It's in a cellar. And what they said to me is, member of the public phoned and reported that they've seen black men carrying speaker boxes.
Right.
So where I live, that is a crime.
Uh-huh.
Yes. What was it? 5 police vans because of a telephone call reporting visually, optically, I've seen a black man with a speaker box get the troops out.
Yes.
And they did. They got the troops out. There was no impact, no crowd, no nothing.
Uh-huh.
I said, for my taxpayers' money, can one or two of your officers stay to stop the public coming because it's a private event?
Yes.
They still shut us down.
Wow.
Black music is zero tolerance where I live in Sheffield.
Uh-huh.
And then in London, in the recording business, obviously you've got that thing where it's moral content.
Yes.
Yeah, you've got that, and I think they're doing better than us. They've got they at least do a few events, and they can at least have a pirate radio station, and they can at least put out a few records and whatever. But we've got zero tolerance where I live.
Yes, even UK's leading artist right now, Stormzy, had something was said the other day, and he came out and was speaking against racism within the music industry. I mean, what do they fear from black people?
The message, the truth, the message.
Uh-huh.
See, when you buy all the media and all forms of sending a message, it means that you want to control the message, if that's what you've done purposely.
Yes.
And some of us, our message isn't capitalistic enough or satanic enough or whatever criteria they are using.
Yes.
Zionistic enough sometimes, So basically, like I said, I know how to get a hit record. I can just sing about sin.
Yes.
Let's say directly.
That sells.
Get the 10 Commandments and read it backwards. To say, well, if you said that, then I'm doing the opposite. And then I've got a hit record. I know it.
Yes. Overnight.
Sensation.
What of the impact? What impact do you find within the music industry right now as a result of what's going on, what they deem the pandemic? What economic impact? Nothing.
Hardly no change because, like what I've explained,
yes,
somebody in my position has been socially isolated for years. No difference. Socially isolated,
Yes.
Like I said, I repair equipment because of the musical social isolation. You see what I mean?
Yes.
So it's just a DIY. If I get enough money, I do my own pressing. So I've been pressing up reggae music in the last few years.
Yes.
And the next time I do some pressing, I think I need to repress Rob Gordon Project's techno album from 1996. Because I think I think it suits this time of confusion that might actually fit to repair some of the gap, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And let me ask you this: for any youngster there or anyone that's interested in, getting themselves a music producer? What if that person is not getting along with their music producer? There is some issue. What should that person do? Should they stick it out? What do you advise?
Well, always stick it out, because you can finish your track with that music producer. And you can come home and you can say, I'm not happy. And then you can go to another music producer and do the track again. You don't have to get everything deep and personal all the time, It's just a business. Every man does his thing a little way different. So, with your music producer, it's never going to be 100% to what you think.
Yes.
Because talking to you, you're never going to give me 100% of what I'm, do you know what I mean? And I'm not going to give you 100% because, it's impossible. That's the way of the world. That is the individuality is what makes us. So let the producer do his own thing, and if it don't suit with you, try it with the next producer and see if it. Sometimes you might try it with the next one again, and then you have to listen to all three of them and say, well, even though I've seen certain artists. To be not happy with the producer that much, they bought their own equipment and done it better.
Yes.
I have noticed that one.
What do you have any music producer out there other than I know we're talking about you, but are there anyone out there that you like their style, that you can actually point to as reference? Not a lot these days. I mean, on an American side, I would say Dr. Dre for keeping the analog sound. Yes. I'd say, the analog sound with tape machine and that kind of thick, rich bass. Yes. He's one of the only producers, black producers, that didn't believe the hype. He tried the digital and he said it didn't sound as good, so he kept his analog. And that is what it's about. It's about your ears, not what is said on the advert in the magazine. It's about what you can hear for yourself. Yes. Do you know what I mean? Yes. And so many of us invest, and it doesn't sound nowhere near as good as it did all those years ago. Because you didn't need to waste all that money. It sounded good enough, and you should have just kept your equipment and spent your money on food and houses and whatever, and you just wasted all your money on what I call blue light equipment. Right. You know what I mean? It lights up like a blue Christmas tree, and it sounds rubbish. It costs thousands of pounds as well. I call it African money. All that money, can you realize how much families in Africa you could have helped for how much months with that piece of plastic blue light junk you just bought for your so-called studio? That's what's going on. Them digital studios, it's just fake. I did a track one time, and I'm in the coaching room, and one of the best ones, and he says to me, gosh, this sounds brilliant. What studio did you do this in? I says, I did it in my spare bedroom on my PC by itself. Right. Yeah. So if you understand technology, if it's digital, you can do it on a laptop by itself. You don't need all that rubbish. Right. Yeah, but if you want it better than that, get some tape machine, get a big desk, But if you know how to program properly, a laptop. Yes. And talk to anybody right now that have aspirations of becoming a music producer. What's that? Can you give a word to anyone right now listening who has aspirations of becoming a music producer? Yes, I can. Don't waste your money. Please, stop buying software. Stop it. It's a waste of money. It's a disc. It's a program. It's worth £10, not £1,000. Stop wasting your money. It doesn't sound as good as the other one, really. It sounds different, but it really doesn't. Your sister and your brother can't hear the difference, so you just waste £1,000 there,
They don't make good equipment anymore. They stopped doing that about 2 years ago. If you want something to sound good, make sure it's a few years old. And then we've passed the mark. We hit peak sound quite a few years ago. So if you want something to sound good, you've got to buy it from a few years ago. So those are the two main advices I can give.
Right. And if somebody wants to use your service, Robert, how can they contact you? I mean, to employ your service.
Okay, I am on Facebook, and I don't usually do this because I don't use a smartphone, you see. So
Right.
I will get back to you eventually on my Facebook as Gordon Rob, just with one B. Right, that was Gordon Rob on Facebook, so you can send me a file for mastering or whatever you need to do just there. But like I said, I don't use a smartphone. I use an old-time Nokia because, you know, technology is good and it's bad, and knowledge is a good thing.
Yes, but you have to be careful, huh?
Well, this is it. My knowledge says don't use the smartphone. I know about electronics. I know about frequencies.
Yes.
You mad?
Stick with the dumb phone.
This is it. You know, if I want to go on computer, I'll go to the computer. I don't need that radiation in my phone and in my face every day.
Yes. You have the final words you wanna share with the listening audience?
Yeah, 24-bit downloads sound better than 16-bit ones and sound better than the MP3 ones. So download WAVs, not MP3s. I know they cost a little bit more, but trust me, it steps you out of the Chronos.
Oh, it steps you out of the what?
Chronos,
what's that?
K-R-O-N-U-S.
And what
you
is...
did say was the last word, so that's how I just left it there on the last word, and people can research that there.
I see. It's a research.
Yeah. It helps step you to the Chronos.
Yes, definitely. Well, Mr. Robert Gordon, it's an absolute pleasure this evening talking to you. Thank you so much for taking the time out to have this conversation with us on Truth Music Radio and on Profiler. And, we wish you all the best, sir.
Yes, and if I can send you some of my promotional material, I'll try to do that in the next couple of weeks or so.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
You have a pleasant evening.
And good night, all your listeners.
Good night, sir. Well, there you have it, listening audience. I truly hope that you found that informative. Again, his name is Robert Gordon, and he is a music producer, co-founder of Warp Records. You can actually search for Robert Gordon on Google. And as he stated, you can find him on Facebook. All right. You've heard what you need to look out for in a music producer, the traps and the pitfalls of the music industry as it relates to Satanism, as it relates to drugs, as it relates to racism. The things you should look out for. If there are any aspiring musicians out there, you know what to look out for, and also what to look out for when you are seeking a music producer. All right. So we hope that you've truly been blessed by this broadcast this evening, and we pray that you stay in the knowledge, stay in the truth. You understand? And as always, do your research and keep it, locked on Truth Music Radio. Spread the message about the radio station. Download the app and, have yourselves a blessed and productive rest of the week. And until we next broadcast, I am Jeremiah. Walk good.